Hey people of YouTube, I just started a channel for my hobby. I am building a 5th scale RC driven Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG, and for now I thought it would be the most helpful to show you all the components and all the parts I've been making until now, what they're supposed to look like, and then the whole car, and in the end a little tour of my basement. I have been working on this car for 4 years now. It's kind of like the 4-year anniversary of this project, so it's perfect time for catching up with the project video. So let's start. So we have the intake system, built it all out of styrene and glue, painted it black. It's nothing special, but it looks pretty cool, I think, like with some scale details and then some wires for more details, sensors. Here we've got the injection duct for one side of the cylinders. Next we've got the oil reservoir. I made it out of styrofoam, coated with some glass fiber sheets and epoxy resin, then smoothed it and painted it gray, added some magnets and some tubes and pipes for the conducts. Here we've got the exhaust header actually for one side of the cylinders, the other one is there. It's 3D printed and then glued and worked on. Here we've got an engine cover, one of these brake calipers, 3D printed, coated with paint and then worked on. Here's the radiator, so I oriented myself on the original radiator and took a PC radiator actually from a computer. So there's the radiator core. I included some pipes, some brass pipes. It's going to be functional. The PC fan is even working when you plug it in there. Next, onto the rear silencer of the exhaust system. So I took some different styrofoam layers, sanded it, covered it in glass fiber and then coated it with paint. Next, onto the double wishbone system. Designed them all in Fusion 360 and printed them, coated them with epoxy resin to make them stiffer, and then there's going to be a brass insert, like a threaded insert, to be actually able to attach the axle. So that's the steering gear I've been working on now for like a few weeks. It's a servo motor driving a tooth gear. It's an endless servo, which means it can turn and turn and turn, but yeah, I have to make it stop somewhere, so that's why I attached the potentiometer with a lower gear to actually be able to have the steering angle I need. And yeah, here's the rewired plate. Next, onto the engine parts. Some of the engine parts. So we've got the water pump, then the alternator, the main pulley, then that's the AC compressor. So here we have some steel brakes. A buddy of mine made them. I added some more details than for the little screws actually holding the plate with the brake disc, but it's one piece. It's just supposed to look like that. So front and rear have different diameters. Here we see the screws. Use the brake pads. I actually used some brake material for actual brake pads and added some brass plates and then cut it out and filed it now to the wheels. So The rims have been 3D printed. The tires, I designed the tire profile actually in CAD and then printed out the mold and then put it together and injected some black silicone, and actually you see on the sides the Continental logo. There's the name of the tire and the size, just like in the original one, and front and rear tires have different sizes and diameters. Now for the brake system, you put the caliper, the disc, the pads, and then you have a working wheel actually. Of course, I didn't show how the brake is actually working, but it's like some kind of cable wiring, like a Bowden cable, and then it actually pushes the brake pad onto the brake disc. So the brake caliper is actually screwed onto the axle carrier with two M3 screws over here. Now to the chassis. The original chassis is an aluminum space frame chassis, which I've been trying to reproduce until now. So it's glued, it's screwed. So for now I've done the main profiles and main struts, and the detailing will come on later. In the engine there's the electric motor from the Traxxas e-Revo, there's a servo motor for the brakes, and there's a water pump for the water cooling system then. Yeah, we've got the torque tube actually. It's partly 3D printed and partly like made by myself with some glass fibers and all to actually reach the right length. Yeah, it's a huge monster. You see the downside of the engine again, going all the way along the torque tube into the gearbox. The gearbox is actually like partly the distribution gears for the Traxxas e-Revo, and then there's also like the differential and all. And the gearbox casing is actually designed by myself and 3D printed then by Shapeways. So now a little tour of my workshop. So here I'm having some drawings and original pictures. Then we've got the molding case for the tires. It was a pretty huge mess actually, but yeah, I cleaned it up. So all the body panels are 3D printed with like a lot of support. So I've used like 4 or 5 kilograms of plastic, and once I will have cleaned them up, it's going to weigh much less obviously. But before doing that, I have to reinforce the actual part of the body panel with some fiberglass. Then automatically 3D printer, it's an ANET A6. It's like in the lowest range of the 3D printers, but it's doing its job pretty well actually. Alright, I hope that sums up the current status of the project. There will be more to come, and I'm kind of aiming for like a weekly release of a video actually showing the progress I've been making, and then when I'm done with a component, make a little video of how I made that component with more pictures and like more describing of how I worked on that.